30. Can you guys hear me, guys and gals? No? Yes, no, maybe so? It's just Mayanna. She can't hear me. I see her shaking her head back there. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. I'm seeing some nodding now. Well, I want to welcome everybody tonight, or this evening, I should say, to the Monday, June 13th, 2022 council meeting. And tonight is a bit of a special night for many reasons. First of all, I'd like to welcome Mike Cochran, our new town manager, all the way from Hanahan. Is that right? Did I say it right?
That's correct.
Hanahan,
yes.
South Carolina.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thanks.
And I didn't know if you wanted to address the crowd. They're all here for you.
Well, I bet most of them already. So just briefly on Mike Cochran, I'm as of this morning, the new town manager for Abingdon. And like I've told people, I used to vacation in the mountains when I was a kid, and I went to Western Carolina University, the Harvard of the South. And then ever since I graduated, I've been trying to get my way back to the mountains. And I'm back in the mountains now. So I love this area. So I'm just glad to be here. I know I did something right in the previous life in order to land back here, so I'm just happy to be here. Thanks.
Well, thank you. We're very excited to have you.
Thanks.
With that being said, Kim, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Owens.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Pillion.
Here.
Ms. Quetch.
Here.
And Mayor Webb.
Here. At this time, I'd like to take the Pledge of Allegiance. If Mr. Dwayne Anderson, Councilmember Dwayne Anderson, would lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, sir.
And now, I'd like to welcome Pastor Kevin Campbell from Sinking Springs to lead our prayer.
Let us pray. Creator of all that was, of all that is, and of all that ever will be, we give thanks for this day of your sure making. We give thanks for the tasks and work that you have given us to accomplish. We give thanks for tourists and visitors who have traversed our sidewalks and have been blessed by the hospitality and vitality of our community. We give thanks for those who serve our community in devotion and love and at great risk so that we may live safely. We give thanks for the play of our children enjoying a summer afternoon. For all that has given energy and life to this day in our community, we give thanks to you, O God of life, because all that borrows life from you is ever in your care. We pray then, as this day grows short, that you will watch closely and listen intently as these servants of the people of Abingdon come together as one body to serve the people with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love. Give these men and women courage to do good, to seek peace, and to pursue it. Use these men and women to do your transformative work that dares to execute justice for the oppressed, that gives food to the needy, that sets prisoners free, that welcomes strangers, that lifts up those bent low by poverty, that upholds the most vulnerable among us, orphans and widows, the unsheltered, the elderly, and all who have no advocate, and that imagines that even the dead can be raised. Empower these men and women to enter into the hard places of conflict and difference of opinion with grace, listening ears, and understanding. Give them strength and conviction to resist the temptation to reduce complex issues into simple, pat answers and solutions. Help them to avoid the seduction of inflammatory and dehumanizing speech so that the dignity of all may be cherished and respected. Assist them in not making snap decisions, but help these men and women to be deliberative, discerning, curious, and open. Let these servants of the people continue to nurture the good and the common weal that flows naturally in our community. Politics, governance, life together is not easy. And so when the work of this council is complete this evening, grant these men and women satisfaction and fidelity, hope, charity, and above all service. Give us assurance that you have heard our prayer, because we pray in the spirit of the one who we believe has helped our town in ages past, is our help in years to come, and is even with us now. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. All right, council, at this time, I'd entertain approval of the agenda unless anybody has changes they'd like to make.
I'll make that motion, we approve the agenda.
All right. Motion by Mr. Owens to approve the agenda as is. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Gillian?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. And that brings us to public comments, of which we have two. I'd like to remind everybody that we do have a 3-minute time limit on public comments. When your name is called, if you please approach the council and state your name and address. First up, we have Miss Katie Brown. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Webb and members of the Town Council, staff. My name is Katie Brown, and I live at 254 Valley Street, and I'm producing artistic director at Barter Theater. And that's why I'm here tonight to address the council. This past Friday, June 10th, was Barter's 89th birthday. And over the last 89 years, Barter has been many things. It's the very beginning of the regional theater movement, the very first state theater in any state in the Union, a cornerstone of arts and culture in Southwest Virginia, and especially since the mid-1990s, one of the major employers in town and one of the major economic drivers as well. In 2019 alone, over 142,000 people came to Abingdon, saw a show at Barter, and spent money elsewhere in town. They ate in restaurants, they stayed in hotels and bed and breakfast, they shopped downtown. According to Destination Services, the company that just completed our 2019 economic impact study, for every dollar that Barter Theater spends, $3.99 goes into this community. In other words, Barter quadruples any dollar that you invest in it. This investment is important. Barter Theater and the town of Abingdon are inextricably linked. Our prosperity rises and falls together. During the pandemic, Barter produced when many other theaters of our size and ilk shuttered because we knew the town was counting on us. When the town's funding significantly lowered, we understood it was part of the pandemic's effects on the town. But as we have moved back inside the theater, Barter's costs have risen at the same time the numbers of patrons it is bringing in has risen. We have put up a full summer repertory of pre-pandemic Barter size, 5 plays that people can come to all summer long in order to bring in the maximum number of people to town. Barter did this in large part because of the assurance that the town was in support. We know that the town has difficult decisions to make regarding the upcoming budget, and we're here this evening to work with you to ensure that Barter can continue to have the impact that we have all come to expect. We ask that you return Barter to its standard funding. We can't do it without you. Thanks so much.
Next up, we have Miss Tanya Triplett.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Tanya Triplett, 21383 Piper Road, Damascus, Virginia. Also reside at 208 West Main Street for a majority of my time. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. I just wanted to let you all know that the work of the employees of the town doesn't go unnoticed. I came through town yesterday morning at 8:30, and at 8:43 I took a picture of the ash limb laying on the front lawn of the Fields Penthouse with the banisters destroyed. We had an author in town yesterday who's written a book called Virginia is for Adventurers. So we had promoted a scavenger hunt all along Main Street, and that scavenger hunt was supposed to end at the Visitor Center. So I started texting my staff and saying we may have to put some things directing people to the back. We may not be able to use the front door today. We may have to go to the Creeper Trail Welcome Center. So we were just hashing out all the things that we might be able to do. And I had my granddaughter with me yesterday, so we were on our way to church. So after I sent the picture to Matt Henderson, I went to church, and I came back from church at 10:30, and the tree was laying on the back of a dump trailer, and all the limbs was taken care of, and most of the debris was cleaned up. So with that being said, the scavenger hunt went on without a hitch. We didn't have any problems at all. But at 8 or 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, Matt Henderson, Keith, Michael Collins, and Kenny were all out there cutting that tree up. So I didn't want that to go unnoticed, and I want you guys to be aware of how much our employees care about this town and how dedicated they are to making sure that we all can work together to make lots of good things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
All right, that concludes public comments. Brings us to the approval of the minutes. Council, we have 5 sets of minutes. The May 2nd, 2022 called meeting, the May 2nd, 2022 meeting, the May 3rd, 22 called meeting, the May 9th, 2022 called meeting, and the May 19th, 2022 mid-monthly meeting. We were busy in May, in other words.
Wow.
Long story short, if there are no changes on all of those minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve all at the same time.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Pillion to approve all 5 sets of minutes at the same time. Do I have a
There's
second?
some that Mr. Anderson needs to recuse himself from, abstain from.
Yes, he will, the May 2nd called meeting and the May 2nd regular meeting.
Yeah, so Mr. Anderson, since you were not technically sitting on council the May 2nd, both of those meetings, you'll have to recuse yourself from those 2.
And the 3rd.
And the 3rd as
Yes,
well?
sir.
So all 3 of them? Okay, I apologize, all 3. Kim keeps us going. Just FYI. Having said that, where were we? Ms. Pillion approved it?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Do we have to make another motion just for the 2 May 2nds and the 3rd, and then do?
We'll have to
I
pull
think
the
we can
attorney.
do, I think we can do it all at once and just, Dwayne will just abstain from the vote as to the 3 that he wasn't involved in.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, second by Mr. Owens. Any other discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
All right.
Abstain?
Abstain. Abstain, sorry.
Abstain and aye.
Yeah, both.
I would treat that as an aye for all the ones except for the ones he has to abstain from.
Yes,
How's
sir.
that? Thank you.
Just so that's clear. Yeah.
We're good. Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb?
Aye. That was very clear, very clear. Thank you all. Took it team. That brings us to proclamations. The first one, we have a proclamation tonight honoring and recognizing the 250th, which is amazing, anniversary of the Sinking Springs Presbyterian Church. I'd like Ms. Pillion to read that proclamation if she would.
They gave me the long one, which I'm happy to read. Proclamation celebrating Sinking Spring Presbyterian Church's 250th anniversary. Whereas Sinking Spring Presbyterian Church and Abingdon Spring Presbyterian Church, now the Glade Spring Presbyterian Church, are first mentioned officially in the records of Hanover Presbytery in April 1772. And whereas Parson Charles Cummings, called by these churches on January 5th, 1773, accepted the call at the meeting of the Hanover Presbytery on June 2nd, 1773. And whereas the Sinking Spring Cemetery marks the site of the first of 5 church buildings bearing the Sinking Spring Presbyterian name, a log structure built in the early 1700s, building a more prominent hewn log structure sometime about 1783, which stood until about 1841. In about 1832, a new church was built on Main Street, which was later sold to the, quote, Sons of Temperance, and called Temperance Hall, and was subsequently turned over to the town of Abingdon, and presently houses Barter Theater. And whereas in 1837, the church divided into 2 congregations, one remaining at Temperance Hall, while the other moved and built the 4th Sinking Spring Presbyterian Church structure in 1851 at the corner of Main and Pecan. And whereas the 2 congregations, weakened by the split of 1837 and the woes of war in 1861 to 65, were reunited on April 9th, 1865, the same day as the surrender of General Lee to Grant at Appomattox. And whereas the Reverend James McChain from upstate New York ministered to the congregation from 1843 to 1869 and witnessed both the 4th structure in 1851 and the reunification of the church in 1865. And whereas after the Civil War, the church prospered and grew steadily with the years. And in 1868, established the Stonewall Jackson Female Institute for the Education of Young Women in the area, which was renamed Stonewall Jackson College and operated until 1930 on Main Street. And whereas the fifth and present sanctuary was dedicated in 1891 on the same site as the 1851 structure, and a large Christian education wing was constructed on the current site in 1929. And whereas the cabin built by Parson Cummings as his home in the 1700s and given to the church by the Arthur Cummings family in 1968 was moved in 1971 to the Sinking Spring Cemetery, and which is believed to be the oldest church relic from Roanoke to the Mississippi. And whereas the church conveyed the cabin of Parson Cummings along with the Sinking Spring Cemetery to the town of Abingdon in 2006, and whereas many renovations to the 1891 structure have occurred through the years, including the 2018 renovation of the bell tower, with the addition of the lighting of the steeple into the night sky above Abingdon, and whereas the 200th anniversary was celebrated in 1972 in the Sinking Spring Cemetery with worship services on the site of the First Church, near the graves of Parson Cummings and the Reverend James McChain, and whereas Sinking Spring Presbyterian Church continues its positive Christian influence and its strong, dynamic missions and ministry in the Abingdon area and beyond. Now, therefore, I, along with Derek Webb, the mayor of the town of Abingdon, and the rest of the council, now proclaim that the town of Abingdon, Virginia, commends Sinking Spring Presbyterian Church on their 250th anniversary. Proclaim this 13th day of June, 2022.
That's super interesting. Come up and receive it. We'll take a photo.
Don't all fight for it now. Well, I would personally like to thank you all for your contribution to the community. 250 years, it's amazing. It really is. We have such a wonderful, rich history. Thank you so much for what you do for our community.
Oh, thank you. Council for all your help in helping us celebrate the 250th anniversary, and we cherish our partnership and our relationship here in Abingdon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all, congregation.
Thank you.
All right. We also have a proclamation tonight recognizing June 5th through 11th, 2022 as National Garden Week. And I'd like Vice Mayor Quetch to read that one if she wouldn't mind.
Okay. A proclamation of the Council for the Town of Abingdon recognizing June 5th through the 11th, 2022 National Garden Week. Whereas gardeners have a passion for nurturing the beauty and resources of the earth through the planting of seeds, the care of all plants, and the riches of their efforts. And whereas gardeners seek to add beauty, splendor, fragrance, and nutrition to our lives through the growing of herbs, vegetables, foliage, and flowers. And whereas gardeners work to preserve our country's traditional spirit of independence and initiative through innovation and hard work. And whereas gardeners advocate the importance of all creatures, large and small, that share our world and their roles in a balanced and productive ecology. And whereas gardening furnishes a challenging and productive activity for many citizens, for those just learning as well as those having years of experience. And whereas gardening promotes a healthy lifestyle that lasts a lifetime, helps reduce stress and other areas of our life, teaches and rewards can come from diligent efforts. And whereas gardening enables members of garden clubs across the nation and the world to serve others in the communities where they reside and work. Now therefore, Derek Webb and Town Council, representing the town of Abingdon, do hereby proclaim the importance of gardening and the numerous contributions of gardeners and designate the week of June 5th through the 11th, 2022 as National Garden Week.
There we go. I knew we had some gardeners in here. Thank you so much. I'm going to give this to you, and if you'd like to say something, you're more than welcome to. Thank you so much for what you do for the community.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, dear.
We would just like everybody to go see Everhard Park if they haven't been by
Sure,
lately.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of our premier things that we do in this community, and we have about 8 of us out there working on Thursday, and about 4 or 5 of us working at the, we've moved the Shakespearean Garden to Everhart from the William King, since they've done the renovations and everything, so. We enjoy working with you, and we thank you for the work that your Parks and Recreation do to help us, so.
Ladies,
it's a
thank
nice
you
job.
all for everything y'all do for the town of Abingdon as well,
That's
too.
it. That's it.
Thank you all very
Thank you.
much. Thank you very
I'll
much.
get a
ladies.
picture of you all.
You keep our town beautiful. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
that.
much, ladies.
Yeah.
You all wanna talk about the garden tour?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe after you get your photo, you could mention that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We have the 25th of this month, a garden tour that's going to include 7 gardens. It will also include the historic house on Valley that the Bakers reside in now. But we've kept our price low to $15, hoping that we can get more people to participate with the economy the way it is. And we hope that you all will help spread the word. We've got tickets at, right now, at Greer's. And so you can pick those up, or you can call one of us in the garden club, and we'll be glad to.
They'll be
Thank
selling
you.
tickets on the porch at the Visitor
That's right,
Center
the
on
day of.
the morning of the
Right.
25th
Good,
as well.
Right.
good, great.
Okay.
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to public hearings, of which we have none tonight. We do have 2 resolutions, the first of which is a resolution approving the final plat for Brooksfield Square subdivision, owners Richard W. and Darlene B. Hagee, trustees, 966 Main Street, tax map ID 104C1-1-27. Mayanna Rice, come on down.
Good evening. Mayanna Rice, Director of Community Development. I'll try to be brief. I think Councilman Anderson and our new town manager are probably the only ones who haven't heard every bit of detail about these 2 plats that we're talking about. This is the final plat for Brooksfield Square, and the Planning Commission met on April 25th to recommend approval of the preliminary plat. On May 23rd, they recommended approval of the final plat, and with that was a required 10-foot sidewalk easement that you all also reviewed. And one of the things when we did our review was that they had indicated on their final plat that it was a 10-foot utility easement. So we requested, and they agreed to, a sticker that also says a sidewalk installation waiver was granted by the Abingdon Town Council on 5/2/2022. A 10-foot sidewalk easement was required by the Town of Abingdon Planning Commission with the approval of the preliminary plat. So basically, they asked for a waiver from the sidewalks, and due to the location, both the Planning Commission as well as Town Council agreed to waive that. So what they did as a compromise was ask for a future location where a sidewalk could be put if we decide to do a full reconstruction project. So with that, if there's any questions, I can answer them, otherwise.
And we confirmed with their representatives that they did that voluntarily.
They did that voluntarily, and if you would like them to put that on the record, I think there's a representative here who would be willing to do that.
I think we got that on the record before.
Yeah, I think they put it on Thank you, Mayanna, did a great job. Council, we've talked about this multiple times. Mr. Anderson, do you have any questions? Were you here when we talked about that initially?
Yeah,
Okay, making sure. I don't have any questions, so I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution approving the final plat if.
I'll make
so.
that motion.
Motion by Mr. Owens to do so. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Pillion. Council, is there any discussion otherwise? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. That brings us to a resolution approving the final plat. Similarly, for Stone Mill subdivision, owner Light Milling Company, 1060 West Main Street, tax map ID 104C2A1. Mayanna.
All right, Mayanna Rice, Director of Community Development. Very similar to the last one that I indicated. Planning Commission met on April 25th and approved it. They also met on May 23rd and recommended approval for final plat, and so they're recommending tonight that you all approve the final plat. This one did have a 10-foot sidewalk easement indicated on the plat, so no sticker was added to this, and if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Again, council, everybody feel satisfied? Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mayanna. That was the quickest you've ever gotten out of here. Council, if there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution for approving the final plat for this one as well.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Pillion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. Any other discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. That brings us to first reading of ordinances. We have none. We do have a second reading of an ordinance, and it happens to be the budget. So we have an ordinance of the Town Council, or the Council for the Town of Abingdon, Virginia, proposing a budget for the Town of Abingdon, Virginia, and to make appropriation for the current expenses of the town, and to fix the tax rate upon real and personal property for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022, and ending June 30th, 2023. Mr. Trotman.
Mayor Webb, council members, Steve Trotman, Director of Finance. The packet before you has the proposed budget ordinance, which has been modified somewhat since the first reading, based on feedback and consultation with a member of the Finance Committee of the council as well as other council members. There's a modest change to allocate or to appropriate an additional $100,000 in the tourism budget to be earmarked for support of the Barter Theater in the first half of the fiscal year, to compensate for that additional expenditure, because we, given the circumstances with the economy right now, we were hesitant to try to figure out if there was any additional revenue to compensate for that. So to offset the $100,000 additional for tourism, we took a look at the capital infrastructure budget, which we were originally in the first budget, we were looking to self-fund, if you will, from the general fund. So instead of self-funding all of that capital, we're looking to take, and these are place marks now because we need to look at all of our costs, but approximately $200 or $200,000, excuse me, as loan proceeds or lease proceeds, depending, and then an additional $100,000 of debt service. So we're adding $200,000, but we're bringing in $200,000 of either lease or loan revenue to offset that. Any questions on that particular part? Okay. Just to recap, as far as the rest of the budget, there was a 3.5% COLA, which is still built into the budget. There's no change there. There were no changes to any of the tax rates with the exception of the cigarette tax, which went from 35 to 45 cents. On the solid waste service fees, first cart from $12.48 was increased to $17 per month. Additional carts were increased from $4 to $6 per month. And again, that was really, really important to place on the budget. As we all know, we've had a number of issues down at the Bristol landfill, which is where we take all of our solid waste. We're all aware now that they're closing that facility down. And I'd like to give kudos to Mike Surratt and the others. Jamie Chapin and the public works folks who were really prescient about what was coming down the pike before it was a known. It's a known now. And since they're closing that down, we can anticipate increased rates for the other landfills who are going to be forced to take in that additional solid waste from other jurisdictions. So time will tell what those actual tipping fees are going to be. But it was important for us to increase our fees. And again, to remind the council, those fees still are half of what Bristol, our neighbors in Bristol are being charged for the same service. So we're not by any means out of line with that. On the wastewater, or the wastewater, the sewer plant, this does, and again, to remind the council, some years ago, there was a rate study done that had suggested to the town that we should look at our wastewater rates because of ongoing regulatory issues, not with our plant necessarily, but with DEQ and EPA issues surrounding that, the regulatory environment, also increased cost, increased maintenance, that they had suggested a process by which we would increase our rates over time. The first year that we were supposed to do that was a pandemic, so the council justifiably said no rate increase that year. It was increased 4% last year. This budget does have a 5% increase in our wastewater sewer rates. Other than that, no other rates have changed.
And best of my memory, didn't our financial advisors also recommend that rate change? It seems
Yes.
like. Is that right?
Yeah, it was an independent study.
Yeah, I
and
feel like
yes.
they were, I remember that just off the top of my head, but yeah. Okay. Council, what questions do we have for Steve? Anything specific? Anything specific? Well, Steve, I would like to commend you on your hard work with the budget. I know it is a tireless effort, and it's been a bit of an unorthodox cycle. We've had some transition, and that's always a challenge, but I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, thank you. And again, as I've indicated before, it takes a team, and we've got a great team. As Tanya indicated earlier, you know, the employees of the town have been fantastic, and the directors. And I would like to give credit to Mr. Mathers. Really appreciate all of his effort while he was here. It was a challenge for him to be involved in a budget that he wasn't going to inherit. And Mr. Cochran, this baby's yours.
Thank you.
But it has been stressful, and after listening to the ladies from the garden club, I think I should join the garden club for easing some stress, so.
It may take a couple of months of gardening to get over the budget cycle.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
all
so
very
much.
Thank you.
So Kim, I guess we need to take action tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So having heard all that, council, I would entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance, second reading of the ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Vice Mayor Quetch. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Pillion. Any other discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. Thank you, Steve. We don't have consideration of any bids tonight. We do have some new business. We have a presentation regarding William King Arts Center and Miss Betsy White. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you very much. And especially thank you for this invitation to come and share all the frenetic activity that's going on up there on our hill right this minute. And I also have, here it is, right here, my clicker I'm supposed to have. I enjoyed meeting Mr. Cochran last Friday. He came by, and all of you have been wonderful support for the museum, so thank you very much. Before I start on everything that's going on, I'd like to also commend the town of Abingdon. Thank you for the donation of the loom from Fairview. That big barn loom is now going to go in its own gallery and be showcasing the home textile production history of our region for all of our visitors. So that's wonderful. And I'd also like to join Tanya in commending Matt Henderson for the absolutely quick turnaround he did of that and bringing it up to us all taken apart but labeled so we could put it back together again properly, because that is a feat. So what I have here is just a quick, is it up the screen? Good. All right. Just a quick run through of everything that's going on, and I'd like to preface it with the fact that, like Katie Brown said, we are coming out of the pandemic, and we are also using that to, and we've gotten some wonderful grant money, as you probably know, and we're using all of that to illustrate how that property up there and everything that it does at this museum can be for everyone and can be a reason to make Abingdon a good place to live and to work and to visit. And I think it's working. So I'm happy to be here to talk to you about it. And first of all, I want to give you all this, if I may, that you don't need to look at now, but it's just something to keep. All right. So, as you see, these two slides are illustrative of really what is going on. First of all, the one on the one of the artwork, you will remember the Bernini exhibit, Bernini in the Roman Baroque. That was here, just closed not very long ago. It was here touring from Italy. We were one of just a few museums across the country to have it. It was flukish. We got it through the pandemic. It was the misfortune of the museum that couldn't have it, and our fortune to have it, and they waived the fee, which was $100,000, so that we could have it. The reason we were given it is because we are a nationally accredited museum, and that is a real reason why this museum property is outstanding and why it's a real part of this community. As Katie said, it is a reason to live here and a reason for people to come here. We are one of 1,000 museums out of 35,000 in the entire country. And that means that we can have exhibits like that. We would never have been even considered. And then, of course, our construction, which goes on and on and on. And hopefully this front part of it is about to be completed, and the town of Abingdon has participated in that funding. Thank you for that. So we will be moving towards the lower campus soon, I hope, pretty soon. Now, why did that go to the end?
That was quick.
That was quick. Maybe it goes this way. There, okay. First of all, quickly, and I will be quick. First of all, we are having our summer art camps that have been going on since 1988, and this year we have about 155 children there for two camps. The youth camp ages 4 to 12, and the teen camp up to age 18. It's every day of the week. Each week is a little different, and it's extraordinary. Today was day one. They had a wonderful time, all of them did. And then this exhibition, the Long Rifle in Virginia, opened in April. It runs through the end of October. This is another exhibit that is designed to change people's minds that this place is for everyone. It's not just a stuffy museum. This is about the settlement history of Southwest Virginia, and it uses the long rifle because, surprisingly, the long rifle itself is a work of art, a work of material culture. The gunsmiths that are included in here decorated their guns with different kinds of woods and different kinds of metalwork. These, about 40 of them, are all signed by the gunsmiths, or the few that aren't are completely attributed to the particular gunsmith. They're all late 18th century and extremely early 19th century. They are extraordinary in what they are. They were chosen because the gunsmiths themselves followed the migration trail from the top of the Shenandoah Valley, from Philadelphia on down through the Shenandoah Valley and on through Southwest Virginia through to the Cumberland Gap. And the long rifle itself didn't change that much in the way it looked, unlike pottery and things like that. You can sort of place a piece of pottery up the valley by what it looks like. These all look pretty much the same. Plus, number two, the gunsmiths themselves followed the migration trail. So it's a very good object to trace this settlement story. And of course, the goal is to get people to actually go along that settlement trail and look at it and end up here in Abingdon, of course. So we have created partners all up and down the valley, like the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley in Winchester has a small exhibit of long rifles of these same gunsmiths that started there. In Stanton, the Frontier Culture Museum is doing reenactments using the long rifle like they usually do, as well as the hunting shirt. You can see this image right here. is an extraordinary image in and of itself. It was drawn by an English officer on the battlefield in Fredericksburg in 1777. He titled it A Virginian Long Rifleman. And if you can see how he's dressed, that is how the Virginia guys dressed during the Revolutionary War. They dressed very differently than others, and of course we all know they won the Revolutionary War, starting with the Battle of Kings Mountain. So anyway, you can see the settlement trail there. It starts up in Winchester, goes through Stanton, then it also, there's another exhibit in Roanoke. The mothership here is at our museum. Then it goes on out through Lee County to Martin Station, where there are more reenactments, and through the Daniel Boone Interpretive Center out there, through the Cumberland Gap. So this is a big draw for tourism here. Now, this one also is drawing a whole new group of people, as you can imagine. The Open Road opens this Thursday and runs through the middle of September till the 18th. It is about the art and design of the motorcycle and the history of that design. I showed Mr. Cochran those the other day, and he got pretty excited about it. Some of them are very, very old, and this is very much of an eye-opener about thinking about motorcycles as a piece of art. We do have a big program called Bike Fest. The town of Abingdon is participating in that. That is going to be on Latcher Field. Tanya is a big help with that program and other related events around town. So that's something to look forward to also. And then the art lab itself, which was the first part of our big campus expansion that was completed a couple of years ago, was the renovation of the annex, which was used as the county administration building for until 2012, has been turned into a maker space for high school, adult, and college audiences. And it is a buzzing place. Now that COVID is lifting, it is really coming along. We have a grant, one of the many grants in that is from Go Virginia, which is a business-oriented development funding source in Virginia, and we are the first museum that they have funded. So that's extraordinary for our digital lab. So we're happy about that. Now, to conclude, I'm going to conclude with what I'm calling the great gift. And this is really what you asked me to come here and talk to you about. And it is nothing less than transformative. I've given you all there the press release that talks about it, but basically the Virginia Museum of Animal Art is the donor. It's located in Charlottesville. It was started, this collection is probably, if not the most significant collection of animal art anywhere, it is at least one of them. And it's extraordinarily beautiful. It goes along, of course, with our whole transformation of our campus and the intersection of art and nature that we are undertaking right now, which is another audience builder for what we are doing. Of course, it is art, so it fits right in with our mission. This collection was created by Jean and Ann Worrell from Bristol. They are they began the Bristol Herald Courier newspaper and newspaper groups all over the place. They had their headquarters in Charlottesville. They are both deceased now, and so the foundation, which is called the Jen Ann Foundation, different from the Virginia Museum of Animal Art, but pretty much the same group, wants to concentrate more on their philanthropy, and they want to have this animal art exhibition collection able to be seen by more people than it is seen by now, since it's on a secluded campus. And they asked me if we would be interested in this, and of course the answer was yes, and it fits so well with everything that we're doing. So we were not the only place that they looked, and we should be happy as a community that they decided to put it here. It consists of 80 to 100 works of art, both two-dimensional and three-dimensional art. Some sculptural, small and large sculptures that go on the campus. It is really a who's who of artists from the animal world. This is a woman whose name is Rosa Bonheur. She's German. She painted this in about, she's French. She painted this at the end of the 19th century. It's called King of the Desert. This one is magnificent, and these are huge. This is probably as big as this wall behind us. It is, of course, an elephant coming at you. It is the very well-known animal artist from the United States, Robert Bateman. It's called Timbo, and Timbo is really coming at you. This is another artist, John Schoenhardt. He is from the United States also. This is Otter on the Rocks. You know, everybody loves animals, and it's just going to be fascinating for our school groups as well as everybody who visits here. I am told that we're going to have people who come to Abingdon just because of this collection. This is called Fire in the Swamp. This was probably one of the most loved one of Mr. Worrell. It was right over his desk in his office for all those years, which is really where it is now until it comes here. That was Manfred Schatz, who is another well-known name. This is Ray Harris Ching. I love this. He's a New Zealand artist. He painted this in about 1945. It's called The Alarm. He has a number of those. You see that bird, how it's just taking off there? And this one is called Grass-Covered Headlands and the Rocks. This is an English artist whose name is Peter Graham. This one is one of my most favorite. It's huge. The title of it is simply Ducks. It's painted by Alexander Kuster, who is German, painted in the early 20th century. Heavily applied paint. This hung in the Tiffany House in New York City until it was bought for this collection. And then just two examples of the probably dozen large outdoor sculptures that are also included in this gift. This is called The Chase, and this is called Survival. So what I'd like to do is just to close to say that this gift is, the artwork itself is worth between $8 and $9 million. Where are we going to put it? They are going to build a wing on the museum just to house it appropriately, and other sort of smaller things that go along with this. But I said up there, it is transformative. It is definitely that, and it is not only a gift to our museum, but really to our community, and it's something that all of us, I think, will be delighted to have. So my thanks to you for everything that we do together, and I'll look forward to working with you some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
I bet I'm the only one at the dais whose mother made them go to art camp when they were a kid, right?
I made my kids go when my kids wanted to go.
You know, speaking of that, you're not the only person. Of course, I've been there for so long, but I now have all of our school programs, which I didn't even mention, of course, that just serve this whole region. I now have tons of mothers that come in. I'm bringing my child here because I came here in the 3rd grade. So, you know, this is true. All the art campers at 1988.
That's right. Thank you, Betsy. Very exciting news. Very exciting news. We don't have any old business that I'm aware of. Miscellaneous business and communications from the town manager. I know it's early on, but you got anything for us?
I'm just glad to be here, and I'm glad the air conditioning's working.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for being with us. We're very excited, and I'm sure we have a very, very exciting future having you at the helm. So thank you again.
Thanks.
Let's see. That brings us to council member reports. Council members, any reports? Anybody got anything? I'm not going to put anybody on the spot.
I'd just like to say to make sure and notice all the flags that the Veterans Advisory Commission has put out at the Visitor Center in honor of Flag Day tomorrow. So that group is trying very hard to unify the veterans in our community and to bring some recognition to all of these important holidays. So we, with the help of Kim and some other people in the town, were able to purchase the decorations, and we hope to add to them over time. But so the beautiful Fields Pen House is even more decorated.
Absolutely. It looks lovely, it really does. Yeah, they're doing a great job. We're very excited. That's, how long did it take you guys to put that many flags out? Hours?
They started about 4:15.
Wow, impressive.
Great group.
A lot of hands on deck, I'm assuming. That's great. Council, I had mentioned earlier a conflict in scheduling, and I had sort of thrown this out there. Is everybody okay? And Mike, I don't know if I got a chance to ask you, are you okay if we bump the August 1st meeting, or the first meeting of August to the second week of August? Are you going to be in town?
What's the date on that?
I'm not
August the
sure.
1st, August the 8th.
So it'll be from August the 1st to August the 8th.
Correct.
Are you going to be in town?
I'm good with that.
You good with that? Council, are we okay with that? Okay. I think, Kim, if you don't mind, we'll re-advertise that for August the 8th instead of August the 1st. And thank you, council, for doing that. I want to, just for a moment, and I won't grandstand or get on my soapbox, so to speak, but I just want to echo the sentiments of Tanya earlier. We do have a fantastic staff. It's, in a town our size, to have staff that are willing to come out on a Sunday morning and sacrifice their family time to take care of business is just incredible. So from top to bottom, we're really in a good place. I'd like to think that, Mike, you're really lucky to come in with the staff that we have, because we really are in a very good place. We've seen, I think, some of the council that's been here for a little longer than others, we've seen some ebbs and flows and some people come and go, and certainly have had some transition, but it is just very exciting to be in the position that we're in, and again, welcome you to the town. Can't wait to meet your family, by the way. But having said that, council, do any other council member reports that you'd like to make? Or? Excellent. That brings us to appointments to boards and committees. Council, we have 3 appointments to make. Are we going to take those up tonight? Are we going to table those? Do we feel comfortable? We're going to go into closed session. Just got to have a game plan.
I say we go in closed session and
We're
do
going
it.
to closed session? Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
It can be sometimes challenging to discuss those in open session, so we're going to go into closed session. I would entertain a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to the Code of Virginia in 1950 as amended, Section 2.2-3711A1, for the purpose of considering applications for appointment for positions on Economic Development Authority, Sinking Spring Cemetery, and Recreation Advisory Commission.
All right, motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second? By Mr. Owens, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. With that being said, we're going to go into closed session for just a few moments.
I'll come home Thursday night to help, but Thursday night we'll pass each other.
It's cold in here.
And Teddy's gonna run Adidas Nationals.
Is he going to?
So I will take him
Is he
Friday to
in Raleigh?
Greensboro.
Greensboro?
Greensboro.
Okay. It's a great need.
You doing good?
It's good. He wants to get a faster time, so we're gonna go try. Drive to Greensboro Friday and then next Sunday.
All right. I think we're back. I would
How you doing?
entertain a motion to come back into open session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Owens to come back into open session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. Now the certification.
I move that the town council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except for the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
Mr. Owens, do you so certify?
I so certify.
Mr. Anderson, do you so certify? Ms. Pillion?
I so certify.
Ms. Quetch?
I so certified.
And Mayor Webb.
I so certify. All right, that officially brings us back and on to the appointments to boards and committees. First up, we've got an appointment to the Economic Development Authority, an appointment to fill the vacancy for the unexpired term of Ernest Daniels. I would entertain or open the floor for an appointment there.
I'll make a motion that we appoint William Bear Lloyd to the Economic Development Authority.
Motion by Mr. Owens to appoint William Bear Lloyd to the Economic Development Authority. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I think Mr. Anderson got you, but, so second by Mr. Anderson.
We do
Any
this all the
discussion,
time.
council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. Second, we have a Sinking Spring Cemetery, reappointment of Chris Menerick, who is eligible to serve an additional term. I would entertain a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Chris Menerick to the Sinking Spring Cemetery Board.
Motion by Mr. Owens to reappoint Chris Menerick to the Sinking Spring Cemetery Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Quetch. Any discussion, council? Hearing none, Kim, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Pillion?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
And Mayor Webb.
Aye. Lastly, we have Recreation Advisory Commission. We have the appointment to fill vacancy for the unexpired term of Bob Howard. Now, council, did we understand we're going to table that for another month? Okay. Kim, if you'll re-advertise, we're going to table that one for another month. And all that being said, unless I've missed something, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike?